Okay.
So
Hi.
today we're going to be talking on another series of this podcast style conversation on pop culture, literary theory, culture analysis, all of the above. Sometimes we talk about our personal lives as well. But yes, thanks for tuning in. And David picked the topic for this week, so I'm going to pass it to him to share a little bit about the discussion.
Okay, so today we're talking about fan fiction and basically how like maybe in the age of STEM and like AI and stuff like that, how something that's more participatory and kind of like people want to participate on the internet, something like fan fiction, how something like fan fiction could like maybe revive the literary arts or like contribute in a more maybe like academic setting or even just like for people's like personal interests, like how fan fiction could still be relevant in like the modern day, especially after it's kind of been like archived on like AO3, I think it's called, like fanfiction.net, Wattpad, things like that. I feel like we all had like maybe a fanfiction phase like growing up. I know I did. Like, I mean, it wasn't really that long of a phase, but like when I was like, I think when I was 15, like the year after freshman year of college, so I must have been 15, I think. I like discovered fan fiction. I think that's when I discovered it. And it was like when I went on a trip to Hawaii with my mom and my sister for my aunt's wedding. Like, I just found this fan fiction with like Kurt from Glee. Have you seen Glee? It was like this fan fiction about Kurt and Sebastian Smythe. And I read that and I was like, I had a huge crush on like the character Sebastian. I don't know if you've seen Glee, but Sebastian's basically like the like bully, like rich character from there's like a rival school. There's like McKinley High School, and then there's like what's the other high school called again? There's like another like all boys like prep school that like Blaine goes to, who
Okay.
is canon, and eventually like he does end up with Kurt, but then there's like Sebastian, who's not really canon. Like he kind of just like bullies like Kurt in real Glee, but like it just like is about their relationship and like it just goes off of that. So I don't know. So I guess we're just talking about like how fan fiction, and I think that another element too was I think the other article you sent me too was like this other lady writing about like this book review of like this actual published fan fiction book
Hmm.
called YN Your Name. And
Yeah, yeah, I can talk a little bit. Well, it was like a book review of the fan fiction. Um, but before then, I guess like I'm coming from a background where I never really read fan fiction, surprisingly. I think I tried to get into like I don't know, I guess online I was really just absorbed in like early YouTube, YouTube phase. So that was where my consumption as like a kid sort of went to. And then I never really found, yeah, like the literary universe.
um
Um, but
I
I
just
think there's the similarity for me was like I very much looked or in like libraries, I remember I picked out a lot of like teenage YA romance novels, and I feel like that is a very like sort of I guess like self-absorbed, or like I just wanted to live in that world of like finding like young love and yeah, like there was that one series, oh my gosh, like The Pretties or like Uglies, which are getting made into a movie series now. But there's also like TTYL, which was like a whole like four like a it was like all like a four-way trilogy, more than trilogy of like, teenagers texting one another, and it was like in a novel form. So I feel like yeah, romance YA sort of stood for me like the like appeal of fan fiction, because I feel like when I think of fan fiction, it's like, you know, just reading for like social fulfillment. Like you're like sort of going back into that world because it is like a universe that you kind of want to like escape into.
Mm.
Uh, and it's like not regarded as like, I don't know, academia worthy. Like it's not like going to be published in a like esteemed, like it's not going to be like profitable, and
Yeah,
people do
except for
just
like 50 Shades of Grey.
oh yeah, yeah, I never read it, so I don't
Me
know.
neither. Well, like, because 50 Shades of Grey is based on Twilight.
Yeah, I heard about that, but then like also did I feel like she published it, like she wanted it to be a book.
Who?
I don't know exactly.
Anyway, I feel like fan fiction, I feel like, yeah, like the YA romance genre is also very like, I feel like fan fiction is maybe like one step or like two steps below the official, because like at least that's like officially being like published in a book. But I don't know. Yeah, I've heard of TTYL. I think I've seen that book. It's like
Yeah,
texting,
it's like with
right?
the emojis. And it was like before, I think what was funny about those was that I didn't really have a phone to text. So that was like a universe that I was like, wow, like aspirational.
Oh, like you were
Yeah.
reading it to like understand texting
Like I
lingo.
thought it was cool because I was like, wow,
Yeah.
these people have friends to text and
Oh,
like are having these like interesting. I don't even remember the book. I just know that like texting was a big premise or, you know, use of that
mm,
um story. Um but yeah, with like fan fiction, I think it's also, I don't know if we want to go into this, like very abstractly, it's a critique of like the literary like publishing field because it's like you're like self-producing it, and you're not going to like rely on other people to like make it credible because you're already kind of assuming that it's not going to exist in the like literary scene in the same way. So it's sort of like a counter um what do I call it, narrative or like counter literature in a way. Um, but I think that might be too political of a way to read it because a lot of fan fiction is not actually like, you know, it's not socialist or like inherently trying to like do something different. Um, yeah.
yeah. I think it does like democratize like writing.
Mhm.
And it's like kind of like a social, like you said, it's like a social form of like participating in like the culture of like literary arts. I feel like it is more social, and there's like maybe if like more people read like a certain fan fiction, it'll be shared more, and like
Mm.
more people will read it. I don't really remember like exactly how I got into it.
You said it was through Glee.
Yeah, but I don't remember why I started reading it.
Oh.
Like I don't know if anyone told me about fan fiction or like the fan fiction website or like I don't know how I found it. It was like super random. Like I only read like one like literally I only read like one story. It was kind of like several parts. Like this person wrote like several chapters and I don't know. I just feel like it's interesting the online like TikTok discourse maybe about like the tropes found in fan fiction
Mm.
and how like there's just like certain tropes used in fan fiction like friends to lovers. I don't know if you've seen like stuff like that. on TikTok.
I
People.
thought that was just like YA tropes. I didn't know it was fan fiction.
It's also fan fiction. I feel like they overlap. I
Oh,
feel like
interesting.
YA is very similar. I feel like YA is very similar, like in like narrative.
Voice.
Yeah, kind of. It's just that like yeah, I feel like they have similar like tropes. So if you
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
yeah,
Because I feel like right now, even with like the rise of fan fiction, like it's not like seen as something that's like totally abstract. Like people are actually like open to sharing what they're doing and like resharing those. It's still not like I don't know, it's still some people think it's embarrassing even now to be reading that over like an actual it's like not the same as like carrying around like I don't know, Catcher in the Rye, or like if you're just like reading like some like intellectual thing. Like people don't like I remember my mom also used to be like, stop reading fiction, like you should read like nonfiction and thinking like that was better. So I wonder like what fan fiction would even be seen in in the terms of like, mentally like intellectually stimulating.
I think the
Um
paper that I found through the Minala YouTube video was just saying that like um people in like English departments are like dying in like modern universities and like fan fiction keeps the interest in like reading and writing like alive. I think that was just but it's not like something intellectual. It's definitely something that's more like I think it was like a statistic like 80% of the people on the website were like 15 to 18 or something like that. So it's definitely something that's more like read purely by like teenage. I haven't read like I tried like after I saw those things on like TikTok, I was like, oh, maybe I should start reading fan fiction again. And like I tried to go on Wattpad again, but like it wasn't like I was like, this isn't really something that I feel drawn to anymore.
oh,
Uh,
whoa. So you didn't feel as like immersed or like you
yeah.
didn't believe in it as much as
I feel like
before.
at the age of 15, it was just something that was very like intriguing to me, like the idea
Mm.
and something very new and like fresh. Oh, do you want to see my dog? Ratchet.
Oh, wait, is their name actually Ratchet or are you just saying that?
Ratchet. Ratchet.
Wait, let's take our camera reel or this can be our video freeze. Wait, hold on.
Ratchet. Is
Okay,
it
got it.
uncomfortable for him?
It's too uncomfortable.
No, I said it's uncomfortable for him, I think.
Oh, okay. Something that you said, which was like, you know, the STEM fields or literature is dying in the academic world, and then literature fan fiction is keeping it somewhat alive. I think it's also like it kind of references the like accessibility of fan fiction because you don't have to buy it. It's just
Yeah,
online. And so it's like sort of again in my like very political socialist mindset, like it's very like for the masses and it's like to the
yeah.
masses
And
and it
anyone can
caters
write it.
towards Mhm.
Anyone can write it.
Yeah, anyone can write it. So it's like it's like unbounded and like liberated not only in the source but also for like the audience. So like in like both the creator and the consumer. It's like, free for all. And I do think like, there's that is like a very, I guess, in itself, a very positive thing. But then it also like, yeah, that's hard to like give credibility towards in a world that is still very much like wrapped up in like name brands and like,
Yeah, because
just
I feel like
the
when I'm looking for a book like in the library, it's more like have I heard of this? Like do I know the
Mhm.
author? I feel like unless like I just somehow I don't know like sometimes I feel like because I just went to the library like a few days ago and like I found a book that
No.
like I like always kind of new
Wait,
that
was it white noise?
yeah. And then like when I was like a teenager, I didn't even know who David Foster Wallace was, but like I found Girl with Curious Hair, which is like a short story collection. And I just
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I feel like I used to like go to the library and like look for, you're not supposed to judge books by their covers, but like I used to look for books like based on does their cover look cool?
Oh yeah, I think everyone does in a way.
Yeah, it
Um,
attracts
but
you.
yeah, no, I think, but like that sort of like happy sort of awakening, or like you're not planning on getting that book, but I think that excitement of reading something because you yourself found it can also be carried over to fan fiction. It's like fan people love just like saying like I found, you know, this story, or like it's also similar to like music, I think, like people who pride themselves in like finding all of these like, um non like popular artists and like sort of attaching themselves to that. I think there's, again, like with fan fiction, there's like a sort of cult-based following for certain stories. And I think that sort of reiterates like the appeal for people. It's like
Yeah.
that creates its own like aura, or like, yeah, like cultural significance.
And I also feel like the like writing skill, I don't know. I feel like the tropes, just going back, I feel like the like general like tropes used in fan fiction could be like applied to like normal writing too. I don't know. I feel
Mm.
like the idea, for example, like the idea of like just romance or I feel like it's like universal. Also, I feel like another reason why fan fiction is maybe important is because like the queer element, like
Oh, yeah.
they all, it's like queering mainstream media because a lot of them are like about queer relationships that don't exist like in the canon of the actual. But I just feel like, like the relationship of like, like the trope of like, oh, like they just meet like serendipitously and then like over time like they become friends and then one of them betrays the other and then like they have to go through this like there's like one of them is like her and then like they get betrayed and then like they run back to each other like in the rain and like the more dominant one like is like the more dominant one like like heals the like submissive one because like they're sick and like I don't know stuff like that. I don't really know what
Mhm.
I'm saying right now. Stuff like that.
No, I get it. You're saying like it's
The
like a subversion.
tropes.
The tropes themselves are not like subversions of the main plots, are you saying? Of like
No, I feel
the
like
original.
the tropes themselves are very like fan fiction and like YA romance. But maybe like it's just like the quality of the writing that like de-elevates it from like a more like literary level.
Mm,
I feel like, but I feel like the tropes that are in it like are still interesting and like universal. I feel like the narrative um the way I mean like the plot of fan fiction is still like relatable in a universal way.
okay, I see. Yeah, I mean, I think what you said about like the characters are like they're different from regular like the main story that they're taken from, because it's the querying of them is like that's sort of the point. Or like they're just creating new relationships that cannot be found in those stories that were like in the book or in the actual the reference. Um, and it's like I guess a like an excess. Like it's sort of like, oh, we have 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think fan fiction can be also like an excess, or like what maybe contemporary or fiction itself is like, oh, this is too much, or like this doesn't have like a big draw, or like it won't be like money making, but like that's why they're able to be written in this other form. I wonder if there's ever been like fan fiction that's been turned into a novel, like the other way
Yeah.
around.
Wait, what do you mean?
Oh,
50 Shades of Grey.
that's the only one we know. That's so sad.
Um, what about like, hmm. I feel like there are probably like literary examples of like authors like basing their characters off of like previous things that they've read, but like then changing the names and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too.
I think there's probably like, I mean, obviously that's not really like fan fiction, but like I feel like the idea of like being inspired by like previous works. I feel like Pride and Prejudice might be, I don't know. Or maybe like Pride and Prejudice and
Pride and
Zombies.
Prejudice was literally in the 18th or 19th century before fan fiction was a thing. I'm
Yeah.
confused. Are you
No,
saying like when she was writing it, like just as like journal entry?
I feel like just like I don't really know. Pride and
Like,
Prejudice
what do
just
you mean
enters
though?
my
Clarify.
consciousness.
Huh?
It just like no, I don't think. I feel like I don't know why. I just for some reason that makes me think of Pride and Prejudice. Maybe there's fan fiction written about Pride and Prejudice.
No, for sure. There's definitely fan fiction about it. Yeah.
There's
Um,
definitely like other examples other than 50 Shades of Grey. I think
okay.
that's the
Yeah.
most like famous like recent example.
Okay. I guess we just didn't, yeah, we didn't do our research. Um, but there was something else that I was thinking about was like how you said quality is the thing that's missing from fan fiction. And that sort of makes me think about like who determines that quality is valuable? Like why is like a certain like quality of like like writing like in terms of like page numbers or in terms of like number of edits like the refining of the text itself, why is that seem like better quality? And like that actually makes me think of photography. Okay, this is so, I'm sorry, just because I was reading this
Okay.
article about like mobile images and like mobile selfies being very pixelated these days, but that sort of low quality image is what makes it actually like true or like authentic to the original person. And like a lot of refined images of like better quality, what we might like, say is like newsworthy or like able to be produced in like a book or as like photography as art, that actually loses its credibility because we don't know how many edits it's been through. So in a way, I feel like fan fiction could be a very like, you know, original source quality in a very like, subversive way.
Hmm. No, I feel like it's still kind of hard to read like at this age. I don't know. I feel like yeah, like the tum maybe like those like more granulated images like people I see a lot of selfies on like X and they're like not super good quality, but yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a very like unrefined quality to the writing. Some of the writing might be it's just very like cliche. I don't know.
Hmm.
It just doesn't really have I feel like literary quality is like determined by like the editors at the publishing house and then and then going forward like who reads it and like the perception of it is acquired that way.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's like, again, just like after it goes through multiple edits and it's been refined.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, versus the raw sort of footage or the raw text.
I'm trying to write fan fiction right now.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
plugging my
Do you want
blog.
to, can you
We have
reveal
2 minutes
something? Put it
left.
in the bottom, link below.
I'm linking, okay, I'm in the description below. I'm going to link the fan fiction I'm writing. Except it's not really fan fiction, it's more just like romance, but it's like fan fiction.
Wait,
I just changed the names.
is this the part that you read on one of your albums, the song?
No, it's a different one.
Okay. Is
It
it done?
No, I'm just like in the process of writing it. I wrote like one blog post,
Hmm.
which I'll link in the description down below.
Can you give us like a, 2 minute, or
Okay,
not
yeah.
2 minutes, 30-second
So
a small.
two is about two boys who meet like in conservatory. They both get into conservatory, like music conservatory at like the age of like 16, 15, and just basically how they meet and like I think like maybe one of them loses his mind or something, and then the other one has to like take care of him. I don't want to disclose too much of the plot points, but I've been like
Yeah.
sitting on it for like a long time. Like I've been like thinking about it for a long time. I just
Mm.
like I feel like writing. I feel like that's another thing about fan fiction writing, and maybe it's like a lot of people who like used to write fan fiction might be better writers, but because I didn't write fan fiction, but. I feel like writing any long form like fiction is like really hard because there's just so many things to consider. There's like the characters, like you need to keep the characters like consistent and like the relationship between the characters, the settings, the themes that you want to discuss, the dialogue. Like there's just like a lot of stuff that like goes into and especially if it's like a longer form of fiction, I feel like it's hard to keep track of like all the things that you want to like put into it while keeping it like narratively like while keeping the thread going and also like keeping it like, you know, readable and like understandable. It's just very
Yeah.
hard. And I feel like
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I
but
feel
that's
like
also why.
maybe
Oh, go on.
I feel like maybe people who had like practice writing stuff like that might like maybe become writers in the future. I don't know. I think the fan fiction community is still very young and like many people who were like participating in it maybe like 10 years ago might
Yeah.
still be like writing maybe. I don't know. And maybe they still just haven't made it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, okay, this is a maybe stupid question, but how is your writing deemed fan fiction if it's not like derivative of like a previous story?
I'm just
Is it
calling it
just
fan fiction because it's like romance and it's like
well now I think based on the
and
discussion we
because like it's inspired by the fact that I was asked to write fan fiction about myself and a real person. You know what
I
I'm talking
see.
about?
Yeah.
It's based
Yeah, but
on
then
me and a real person. So
wait,
that's
sorry.
it's based on me and a real person.
So
So it's
that
not
like
really
you're
fan
basically
fiction. I'm just calling it that because that's what it was called to me.
right. But it seems like it's actually just like the fiction element
It
is
really is
just
just
your life.
fiction. It
There's
really
no fiction.
it's just the genre of fan fiction, which is maybe just YA romance.
Wait, there's a genre of fan fiction called YA romance.
No, I'm just saying the they're sim okay, real less than a minute. They're just similar. I'm just calling it that because like I feel like that's it captures the idea of it.
Okay,
But
I
it's not
see.
really it's like you said, it's not really like something.
I see.
Okay, are there any closing remarks that you would like to say?
No, I think we ended on a really interesting note. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's
me
great.
too. I think
I
that
think we
was
kind
better
of
than our first video.
well, we kind
It
of
was
stuck
all
to
over
the
the
theme.
place.
That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone, and please follow for next week,
Yeah,
where we're
please
gonna
like,
talk.
comment, and subscribe.
We're gonna
All
be
good.
talking about literature in the age of STEM and AI.
Okay. And
Okay.
talent hot.
No, that's next